The general settings for a blog include the blog's name and tagline, the language of the blog's content, the time zone, and other options. These options help control basic blog content appearance, so it's a good idea to set them when you're first setting up your blog. So right now we're on the home page for our blog, and we want to set those options. So we'll go into My Dashboard. And then in the dashboard, the options we want are under Settings. So I'm going to click the triangle next to Settings, and that's going to display all the options under it. We'll scroll down so we can see them a little better. The option we want is General, so I'll click that. And that brings up the General Settings Administration panel. I want to go through each of these options one at a time and explain what they are and how you can change them. The first one is the blog title, which we already changed when we created the blog. If you needed to change the name of the blog again, this is where you would type in the new name. This is the name that appears in the header on all your blog pages. By default, all blogs have a tagline that says just another WordPress.com weblog. But we want to change that. We don't want it to just say that. We want it to actually say what this blog is all about. So what we'll do is we'll select this information here and press backspace or delete to get rid of it. And then we'll type in the new tagline, which is Official Blog for Springfield Elementary School. Next, we might want to change the language. This is the language that the blog's content is written in. This is not the language of the interface, but the language of the content. You could change that to any language that the blog is written in, and there's a whole bunch of languages written here. This particular blog is written in English, so we'll leave it set to that. What this is used for is mostly internally by WordPress.com to identify a language that a blog is written in so that people who are in countries that normally speak a certain language, for example, if you're in Spain and you access WordPress.com, you're probably going to be more interested in Spanish language blogs than English language blogs. That's just an example. Just want to remember here that you can have a different interface language, for example, the language that all this text is written in versus the language of your content. So there's two separate settings for that. The other setting is done in the profile. The email address is the address that any kind of administration email messages would be sent for. For example, if you get a new user on your blog, the information about that new user would go to this email address. The time zone is the time zone of your blog, and by default, new WordPress.com blogs are set up for Universal Time or Zulu Time. The way you would change the time is you would select an option that represents the offset of your time zone from Universal Time. So for our example here, we're in California, and California during this time of year is 8 hours less than Universal Time. So if I pick the -8 here, that'll set the time to 8 hours less than this. So that would make it 12:03 p.m., which is what time it is right now. And I can scroll down here and choose a different date format. And these are standard date formats you can choose. This is the one I'll leave it set to, which is the name of the month, the day, and the year. And there's these other options that you can set if you prefer that. Also, if you want, you could put in special codes that will format the date. And these are standard PHP formatting codes. So if you know those codes, you can fill them in there. If you don't know the codes and you don't like any of these formats, you can click this link to learn more and get the codes that you need to make a custom form. The time format has whether you want it to be a 24-hour clock or a 12-hour clock, AM and PM, uppercase or lowercase. You would choose the option that you want. Again, if you want a custom format, you can use PHP codes to put in that format, and clicking this link up here would give you the time formats as well. Another thing you can change down here is the day the week starts on. In the US here, usually calendars show Sunday as the first day of the week, so I'm going to change this to Sunday. And this is used in the calendar feature throughout WordPress. So anywhere that you've got a calendar appearing in a sidebar or anywhere else, by choosing that option here, that would determine what day of the week that appears on. So once you've made all these changes, you can click Save Changes, and that will update your settings. So I changed the day of the week, and I also changed the tagline for the blog, and it shows here that the settings are saved. There's one more option that you can change in here, and that's the picture that's associated with your actual blog. This is not a Gravatar image that's associated with your account. It's the one that's associated with your blog. And I'll show you how you can set up that image. We have an image here. It's in the exercises folder, and we're going to use that for this blog. So I'll click the Browse button here. And that brings me into my exercise files folder. And I'm going to use this file here called School Logo. So I've selected that. I'll click Open. And then I'll click Upload Image, and that'll upload it to WordPress.com. And again, it comes up with a crop box, and anything that's inside this box is what will appear as your logo. What I want to do here is I want to crop this logo so that it shows the building but not the text under it. So I'll just drag this down to surround the building. I have to drag the whole thing in the middle here. So you drag by one of the handles to change the size and drag in the middle to reposition it. And once I get it the way I like it, this looks pretty good, I can click Crop Image. And that image has been uploaded to WordPress.com, and now it's been added to my blog as its Blavatar is what they're calling it here. And there's 3 different sizes it's automatically created in. So I'll click back to Blog Options, and you'll see that it's in here. When we're on various pages for the blog, as this is accepted, that image will appear up here in user's address bar. You see where the WordPress icon is. Eventually, our icon will appear up here. It just has to be approved and accepted. Just to make sure that's set in here, I'm going to click Save Changes, and the settings are saved. So as you can see, the general settings control some very basic blog options that you might want to set when you first create your blog. Your tagline, for sure, you're going to want to change the language and the time zone. The time zone is pretty important because that'll date and time stamp your blog entries. And of course, the blog picture, which helps identify your blog in the WordPress.com community.